A very beautiful morning to our listeners. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, everyone. It's time for the program Nigeria Today. Nigeria Today is a news and current affairs program that looks at trending issues, and we try as much as possible to bring all of these trending issues to your doorstep. This morning is going to be a special edition of the program, and of course, we shall be looking at issues, and of course, we also give you the opportunity to come in and add your voice to the discussion. And this program this morning is the maiden edition of the program in the series of the program sponsored by the Abdulsalami Abubakar Institute for Peace and Sustainable Development Studies in Minna. And of course, this is going to be the first series of those programs. And the program will be coming your way on Wednesdays. Of course, the first edition will be coming your way today, which is the 2nd of June 2021, and there is going to be a repeat broadcast of this same discussion on the 16th of June 2021. And of course, henceforth, every fortnightly, we shall be having a similar program. And today's program is going to focus on the topic addressing the drivers of conflict and violent extremism in Nigeria. That is going to be the focus of our discussion this morning. Who are the drivers of conflict and violent extremism in Nigeria? And I have with me distinguished discussants with whom we shall be doing justice to this topic. And first among them, and of course, is Dr. Salihu Muhammad Niworu, Associate Professor of Political Science, Ibrahim Badamasi University, Lapai, and of course I also have with me Barrister Mairo Muhammad Man. She's the Director of Gender and Domestic Violence Department, Ministry of Justice, Niger State. And together we shall be looking at this issue addressing the drivers of conflict and violent extremism in Nigeria. Of course, listeners will recall that since the aftermath of the 1967 to 1970 civil war in Nigeria, Nigeria has witnessed a series of conflicts over the years. Some of these conflicts are ethno-religious conflicts, farmer-herder conflicts, communal conflicts, among others. Other forms of conflicts that Nigeria has witnessed include insurgency and terrorism. According to the Global Terrorism Index of 2020, Nigeria is ranked third after Iraq and Afghanistan. Each geopolitical zone in Nigeria has witnessed violent conflict militancy, agitation for self-determination and youth restiveness. And of course, violent extremism has been fueled by insurgent groups, among which are the activities of Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast. These conflicts have had far-reaching effect on development, education, livelihoods, and the stability of the nation. Thus, there is a need to urgently address the root causes of the drivers of the conflict and violent extremism in Nigeria. And this, I said, is going to be the focus of this discussion this morning. Don't forget, this program is brought to you at the instance of the Abdulsalami Abubakar Institute for Peace and Sustainable Development Studies in Minna. And Dr. Muhammad Niworu, of course, is an Associate Professor of Political Science from the Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida University, Lapai, and of course, Barrister Mairo Muhammad Man. She is the Director of Gender and Domestic Violence Department, Ministry of Justice. Gentlemen, you are welcome to the studio and the program Nigeria Today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, let me start with Dr. Salihu Muhammad Niworu. Conflicts. When we say conflicts, let's look at the key terms that constitute the topic this morning. What is the concept of conflicts?
Thank you very much, Tantala, and good morning to the team viewers listeners of Prestige Radio out here. The concept of conflict fundamentally is a function of perception. In fact, selective perception, until one group perceives the other group trying to block and frustrate it from achieving her set objectives. before conflictual situations will arise. And therefore, it is in this perspective that the concept is seen as either functional or dysfunctional. And we need to understand clearly that the functional aspect of faith cannot be avoided in any society. It's part of the basic prerequisite of development in a given society, where people argue every day, people disagree every day, people share their contrary opinions and views about fundamental issues in the society. It's very germane to the development of any society. And that is the aspect that is referred to as the functional conflict. You can't take it away from society.
Okay. Thank you very much. Barrister Meroman, what are the major drivers of conflict in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good morning, viewers. Well, just to put it very swiftly too, key drivers of conflict in Nigeria, if you ask me today, fundamentally access to power and resources, unequal development, scarce resources, and religious intolerance, and also tribalism. These are some of the major drivers of conflict, when these things are not balanced, and that is what we have in this country today. So these are just some of the major drivers of conflict.
Okay, thank you very much. And Dr. Niworu, what are the key drivers of violent extremism in Nigeria? You have just talked about the concept of conflict. She has just talked about the drivers of conflict. Now, the key drivers of violent extremism in Nigeria.
Yeah, fundamentally there are two broad key drivers of conflict and violent extremism in this country. One of it is the inability of significant number of families in Nigeria to meet their physiological needs. It's a major driver of conflict in this country. And it's on record. That we have over 250 ethnic groups. Some even say there are over 500 language groups in this country. And we should remember this Nigerian citizens belong to a smaller unit called family. So these families could not address with less difficulty their physiological needs of food, shelter, and clothing. Members of the family have to feed before they can participate in the day-to-day activities of the society. They have enough labor power. They have enough object of labor, i.e. maybe land. But unfortunately, the instruments of labor are either in short supply or they are even archaic. As such, they cannot produce to meet their basic need in the family, leading to the total collapse of safety net of the family and the dignity, the value, and that contentment in the family has been withered away. Therefore, members of that smaller family began to disagree with each other over small issues or resources of the family. From there, it extends to other families in the society and to communities in the society, all in trying to meet these physiological needs of either food, shelter, or clothing, which has been very difficult for a lot to meet. In that attempt, violence erupted in our societies. And the majority of this violence we mention in most of the geopolitical zones of this country have their genesis from inability to meet physiological needs in the society. Somebody who cannot meet his physiological needs cannot aspire for love. He can't aspire for safety. He can't aspire for self-determination and self-esteem. Self-actualization and self-esteem in society. So it's easily susceptible to violence in society. The second driver, major broad driver, is what I call greed and ascription of the political elite. and it got its foundation from the democratization process of the country anchored by the military. There was a vacuum created during that democratization process. They didn't take into cognizance or pay a lip service to some of the conditions of democratization, which have to do with strong institutions, which have to do with building of private enterprise, which have to do with committed elite to democracy, which have to do with middle class. And all these things have been withered away completely before eventually handing over to the civilian politicians. So when they came on board, there was a vacuum for them to fill, which they couldn't, as such people resorted to primitive capital accumulation at the detriment of the entire land. So it served as a major driver of conflict in this country, where the wealth of the nation, did not have a trickle-down effect to this more than 500 and so ethnic and languages in the land.
Now, Nigeria being an entity have experienced some of this extremism and conflicts over the years. Some, like you have said, have tribal coloration. Some have religious, ethnic, and even political coloration. Now, we have just had Mr. Philip Ndatsu is the former Registrar Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria. Sir, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And let me come to Barrister Miroman before going to Mr. Philip Ndatsu. He has just talked about the failure to meet physiological needs can be some of the drivers to extremism in Nigeria. Could there be a linkage between insurgency, terrorism, and violent extremism?
Yes. The linkages between insurgency, terrorism, and violent extremism, if you ask me, I think they are basically access to power, resources, and this religious intolerance. It becomes so bad, just like he had said, when it is overtly seen that these resources is not as if, because we cannot describe Nigeria as a poor country. We know we have wealth, but then where does it get to? Who does it get to? How does it get to who? So, people feel they have been marginalized unfairly, and as such will go to any extent to see that they cause, chaos in the society. Because when you feel you are a part of the society and you are not made to feel so, it's one can say it's quite painful. And that anger, like I will always say to people, that if you look at the society generally today, you can rightly say that everybody is angry for different reasons. And it's causing a lot of confusion. Like a very simple example, if you are in your car now and for whatever reason somebody on a bike hits you, even if it's the one that is not right, you are seen to be the one that is at fault, because ordinarily, in quotes, you are a thief. Because you seem to be comfortable. So the resources are so scarce, the marginalization is so wide, and so people are no access to some of these basic amenities that could lead to developments in countries are being denied people. So that it gives birth to this classes of conflict. That is where you get this issue of insurgency. Then in some aspect it leads to, terrorism comes up, religious intolerance, and then people begin to create groups like we have seen today. We were talking about Boko Haram, we used to talk about the Niger Deltans, and then now, we are also talking about bandits. And so it's one issue or the other that is leading to it. Economic stagnation is also one issue that we cannot drive away from. Because if you ask me, like I will always say, if these basic amenities are made available in a country, probably this conflict, either ordinary or extreme, in an extreme, situation will not occur, or it will be minimal. But we are lacking that in this country. And that is why, as long as these things are not addressed, I don't know what will become of this country in the nearest future. Already, we don't know what to describe the country now. We are all in a state of fear and instability, and who knows what again. So there's a lot of linkages. You cannot disconnect them. When you want to talk about conflict, you'll have to connect, insurgency, religious intolerance, terrorism. One thing leads to the other. But if you ask me, it's because of this injustice that continuously is being exhibited in the society, either at a macro or micro level, even within the family setup, political, the political class. And so we are not just doing things right, I'm sorry to say, and as such, we don't know where we're heading. And unless these things are addressed, then we don't even know what is coming next.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Philip Ndasu, you have heard Barrister Man's submission. The issue of deep-seated animosity among the population of Nigerians is one of the reasons she held that is causing violent extremism and even conflict. People tend to be annoyed unnecessarily. In your opinion, could there be some other further linkages that are leading to insurgency, terrorism, and violent extremism?
Thank you. I think, to my own opinion, lack of trust in the governance. People have developed that ego of, I don't trust you again. So whatever you do is suspicion. Suspicion leads to insecurity. Insecurity will lead to transform aggression in any form. Because if you don't trust you and you don't trust me, then the environment that you are living in becomes a bit fragile to you, because you don't know what others will do to you. Secondly, my colleagues have mentioned quite like physiological needs. Agree. But look at the population of Nigeria. In the past 10 years or 15 years or so, we are about 180. Now we are talking 180 to 220. The population is increasing, but the land is not increasing. This is creating a communal dispute, because no place to farm again. Within the metropolitan, cosmopolitan, and urban environment. And these are the areas the government need to look at. Injustice, trust, and we must also ensure that we have a proper governance. Policies that are friendly to the populace. When you create a policy that is non-friendly, then you are also creating a problem. But just as my colleagues have said, injustice, inequality, neglect of rule of law, and people have set aside so many things of the needs of the people. And that is why we sit down and what I said earlier, transfer of aggression. I see you just as she has mentioned, my learned sister. When you knock somebody down now, not necessarily, you don't know even what he left home with. And that transfer of aggression, he meets it on you. The same thing with domestic violence. A person goes out, he has not met his needs for that day. Even a child, your own son is greeting you, your reaction is so terrible. Transfer of aggression. And where you have those scenarios, what do you expect? Conflict, crisis. Except these issues are addressed to the root.
But I'm not disputing your submission. The government seems to have come up with a lot of strategies, probably to cushion some of these effects. For example, the social intervention programs that are meant to propel small-scale businesses among the population of Nigeria. Don't you think this also have gone a long way, probably, in having effects on this?
Hotel. But some of these instruments that the government have put in place, they have good structures. The operators of the system are not doing it to the letter. These programs have rules and regulations. The question you asked, are they really being implemented to the letter, to the comfort of those who are to benefit from it? Agree that government have put so many things in place. But to my mind, there are gaps within the structure. And if these structures are not strengthened, then where do you need to? You talk of social program. Like the other time you have about 774,000 jobs. There were a lot of noise in there. People are saying X, Y, Z. How many people benefit from it? Government may have good intention, but the implementers of the operation are the people that really need to look into and ensure that proper implementation so that there will be cushion effect on the beneficiaries of such programs.
Okay, thank you very much for your submission, Mr. Philip Ndatsu. Dr. Salihu Mohammed Nouru, you've heard the submissions of the two discussants. To what extent do you think the SIPs will help in curbing the issue of conflicts, violence, and even extremism in Nigeria?
Yeah, he has already stated the major weakness of these programs. That is the structures. Those who are to implement it. You know, some administrative bottlenecks, you know, were always created in the process of implementing these programs. It has been on ground since, I say, independence. Government has been coming up with these social intervention programs, right from Gawon's Odoji Award, you know, and Murtala's own Obasanjo's Operation Feed the Nation, Shagari's Green Revolution, to others like that, up to this present government that come with a lot of social intervention program, even over 17 windows. But unfortunately, it doesn't trickle down to the targeted groups. You find out that some few individuals that have access to the corridors of power or to where these policies are being made hijack it. And the real beneficiaries who are going to use it on the field don't get it. And therefore, the result to grumblings, and the end result there is this violent conflict and extremism we are talking about. If not, they are very good programs intended by the government. But really, like he stated, the implementation of these programs is what needs to be addressed.
Now, do you, in your opinion, think corruption also is playing a role?
A very big role. Corruption has been the major problem that is affecting these programs and projects in this country. And it's really one of the drivers of this conflict. You know, people take advantage of their offices that are given to them on public trust. But they abuse the trust, you know, and primitively accumulate what has been meant for the public. So corruption is a serious issue that
need to be tackled.
Need to be tackled headlong. Like it is being said in every quarter that if we didn't kill corruption, corruption will kill us, and I think it has started killing us in this country.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salihu Mohammed Nouru. Okay, Barrister Meroman, of course, apart from all of these strategies taken by the government, there are also stakeholders who are supposed to play roles in ensuring that drivers of conflict and violent extremism are being addressed. We have issues of pressure groups, corporate organizations and things like that. Do you think all of these groups and stakeholders can play roles?
Yes, very much, very much. If you ask me rules, you are talking of rules of stakeholders perhaps in this issue of violence. Well, they have a very important role to play because the society is our society and we are the society. Unless we are able to right our own wrongs, nobody can do it for us. So the role of the stakeholders in this situation is to have an increased participation of non-governmental organizations, you know, in the electoral process, because one of the issues of conflict also is the poor electoral system that we have. Sometimes the laws are there, but they are not being complied with, and then there are, you know, issues and lacunas here and there. So if we have non-governmental organizations who will participate in increasing awareness, I think that will also help. We should also take into cognizance and increase participation from the private sector. That also would help us, especially in economic development and the creation of jobs. Because you will agree with me that this lack of job is also one big reason for why we have a lot of unrest all over the place. Because people can hardly make 2,000, 1,000 in a day, and you are offering them 5,000 to do a dirty job. As far as they are concerned, it's not dirty because it will bring food to their table. So the government needs to, address it, and a lot of, enlightenment in this aspect will help. And once jobs are created, it says, an idle mind, like we all know, is the devil's workshop. When people are engaged and they are doing things, I think it will go a long way in mitigating some of these, reasons for conflict. And also, if we have improved space for activities of civil, liberty organizations, just like I said, it's not about government. You need to get people, other stakeholders to come in and play, have a, same mindset and addressing issues. Then the gaps that are noticeable in addressing issues of conflict and violent extremism, if you look at it, again, that will reduce it. Apart from the role of the stakeholders is to that we reduce, there is this reduced confidence in the electoral process. Like they have all both said, it's not about the law. Some people fault the law all the time, but it's not the law. The law will not work by itself. The laws are always there, and people are not ready to comply with the law. If you look at it ordinarily, like I will always cite, just take a simple example of the traffic lights. As simple as that, cannot be obeyed. You understand? Then what time do people have to even read the law and know what the law is speaking about? Unless people have found one thing, they may not even know what is the punitive for doing what you are not supposed to do. So when there is a lot of enlightenment there, it could also help and mitigate. Because for me, I always say and will maintain that the result of what we have today is emanating from the inside, the background, the upbringing of our own youth, the society. Because the outside we have now is the reflection of the inside. The banditry, in whatever way you want to look at it, there is neglect. And conflict can come in any form and could translate to a level that you do not expect. But if you have to look at the minute reasons that you could call minute, that is what grows into big and becomes a problem that could not be handled. If we know the Boko Haram started like a joke, and they'll look at what it turned out to be. They'll look at other arms that are coming out. So and then like he rightly said again, there is lack of trust in the entire system, and there is no transparency. People carrying files and covering issues, holding indoors meetings without letting the public know what is happening, and it's supposed to be for their interest. Transparency is one issue that, if it is lacking in any setup, could make or mar a place, or make or mar a situation. So transparency is also that there, and transparency also will extend to involving the stakeholders, because at times, there are elbows, pushing away even some of the stakeholders who probably will help in mitigating this, because perhaps they feel they are going to say what they don't want them to say. So if there isn't this and they are allowed, there is a level playing ground, it will help the society, because the government cannot do it alone. And in addition, issues of accountability is very, very important. Just like you said, of course, the crux of every problem in this country today is corruption. Everything is corruption. The corruption we must know that it does not only it does not mean giving money. Corruption in the entire system. Injustice, just like they will tell you that, peace is not the absence of war, but the absence of justice.
Exactly.
Even when it seems to be okay and there is no justice, there is bound to be conflict. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Barrister Miroman. Listeners, you are listening to the program Nigeria Today, and of course the Voice of Peace Radio program, brought to you at the instance of the Abdulsalami Abubakar Institute for Peace and Sustainable Development Studies in Minna. And of course, this program this morning is focusing on addressing the drivers of conflict and violent extremism in Nigeria, and what is the way out. And I have with me this morning, among the discussants, Dr. Salihu Muhammad Niworu, an associate professor of political science, Ibrahim Badamasi University, Lapai, and of course, Barrister Mairu Mohammed Man. She's the director of Gender and Domestic Violence Department, Ministry of Justice, Niger State, and of course, Mr. Philip Ndasu, a former registrar, Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria. And together, we are looking at all of these issues. You can be part of this conversation too by dialing the number 09038808883, or you visit our Facebook page on Prestige FM Mina to send in your text message. Your contribution this morning will add a lot of color to our discussion. And Mr. Philip, before we open the line, what are the gaps in addressing the drivers of conflict and violent extremism in Nigeria? What are those gaps?
Well, first, as I was saying earlier, the existing structures are weak. And people look at these weak structures to embark on what we are discussing on conflict. Just as she rightly said, the laws are there, but they are not enforced. Are they enforced to the letter? 2, we now look at the government policies. What are those policies that are there that will be beneficial to all of us to avert this crisis? Thirdly, government has sent us so many reports, committees, on the same issue we are discussing this morning. And people have been calling on government. Dust these reports, bring them out, sieve out those that we apply to the present situation we are in today. So we again go back to implementation. These are the cover of corruption we are talking about. People tell all these reports, when you look at it, to expose so many things. So the gaps are there. Now, we look at even the set of the security system. What are the mundane? Are they using excessive force on an innocent citizen? What happened in the past few months shows the gap between security agents and the people. Even if they are half a case, excessive force used on the innocents, thereby are creating more violence in reaction to the existing problems we have on ground. So to my mind, these structures are there, but the government needs to be sincere in making the operation. Then of course the gap in political will. There's a lot of gap in political will. Yes, and we do it. But do we do it? You don't do it. So we look back again to political will. Because if you don't have the political will, there's nothing you can do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Philip Ndasu, for your submission. Listeners, you can now join the conversation on the number 09038808883, or you visit our Facebook page on Prestige FM Mina to send in your text message. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Dr. Dantala, good morning.
Yes, who are we speaking to and where are you calling us from?
My name is Ambassador the Challenger. I'm calling from Tidungulani. Hello, Dr. Dantala.
Yes, go ahead.
I think, the only solution to this problem we are discussing this morning in the studio is this. First and foremost, if we can do away from sentiment, Nigerians, we are just being too sentimental anywhere we are, and it's not the best. Then secondly, again, if you can practice what we call accountability and transparency, we are in a democratic era. If you can practice such, definitely, you understand, all these issues we are facing will be away with it. So I'm challenging all Nigerians, all Nigerians, and all politicians to step up and practice what we call accountability and transparency. United we stand, divided we fall. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabriel, for your contribution this morning. And of course, he is insisting on public accountability. Professor Niworu, you have heard the first caller. He is hammering on issue of accountability and transparency. Do you think lack of this have led to conflict and extreme violence?
Yeah, very greatly. It has really, led to several conflicts in this country where people are not accountable to what the trust that has been given to them about public funds. People use public resources with impunity, recklessly, and they go away with it. and walk with their shoulders high on the street of the town, and even attend customary activities with dignity. So it's really a serious problem that needs to be addressed. People must be accountable to whatever responsibility has been given to them.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move to the next caller. Hello, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm fine. Who are we speaking to?
This is Mama Muhammad. I really want to say...
Mama Muhammad, from where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Boston here.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that anywhere you have injustices, there must be conflict that will be free. And anywhere you have inequality, a lot of dominance and things like that, these are tantamount to crisis and recipe for all these kind of disturbances. So the way forward is actually to put our acts together, to come back to the table, to sit down and tell ourselves that no one else will come and develop this country except Nigerians. We are not expecting Europeans, we are not expecting Chinese, we are not expecting anybody that can come to your house and do it better than yourself. If the day we declare that we are ready to move forward as a nation, definitely we'll move forward. We should not also exclude the fact that there are external interferences. Nigeria is the largest emerging economy in the whole world. And definitely, once we get our acts together, it will be a threat to other nations. So there are those who have been sponsored from the external perspective. So, but basically, we must resolve and agree among ourselves that it is time to move forward. It is time to put our acts together. It is time to embrace good governance. Good governance is the key perspective, where all those aspects of accountability, transparency, openness, inclusiveness, and what have you come into bear. Once someone feels is excluded, you want to cause trouble, and then definitely we'll have crisis on our land. So the way to go is actually to come round, dialogue among ourselves, tell ourselves the bitter truth. No one will fix this country other than ourselves. And God bless Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your contribution, sir. And Barrister Meroman, there has never been an agreeable way of sharing resources. Do you think this could also be a cause for conflict?
Very much so. That's what we talked about. Inequality, even in sharing the scarce resources that we have. And just like he has said, to emphasize in all spheres, this issue of accountability and transparency is something that we have to have about on. And let me use the adage of one of the political parties that says, change starts with you. If we do not change ourselves in this country, I'm telling you that we are heading nowhere. Because we are our own problem. We are our own problem, and we are the one causing this conflict. Just like the proffer said here, excuse me, when you have people, wasting the resources that belongs to everybody with impunity, and people are hailing them and telling them that they have arrived, it is their time, it is, what almost rightly belongs to them. When we do wrongs and we do it with a lot of impunity, like I said from the beginning, the society as it were today is already angry. It's already angry. And in every situation where you want development and success, transparency has a big role to play. Even if you come to a very small level, like even at the ministry level, if you are heading like a department or you are heading a parastatal and you are holding the files onto your chest alone, nobody knows what you are doing. How would you progress? Why wouldn't there be coup? Why would there not be conflict? Nobody knows what. People know that a budget has been provided and probably has been given, but it has not been brought to bear. Nobody knows what. And all of these conflicts, we must not, before it becomes big, it starts somewhere, little by little, and begins to grow. Just like my brother did mention here, sometimes, looking at my background, sometimes people come from even home already angry. Maybe she has a problem with her husband, maybe he has a problem with his wife. If you are medical personnel, like we always say with respect to you, sir, that at times when they address patients, you are like, am I fighting you?
Have we met before?
Have we ever met? So instead of the mind is not settled. The mind has so much bottled up. And the slightest thing that comes your way gets you angry. Sometimes your boss may come to the office, he had his issues from home and comes to. So, I just like he said, I really will want to agree that this issue of transparency and accountability is a serious drawback for good governance.
Okay, let's go back to the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, sir. Can you speak a bit louder?
This is Achadegi.
Okay, go ahead and make your contribution.
Yes, this topic this morning is very interesting topic. But what not encouraged me much, everything in Nigeria, where they say that is where they leave it. If not so, I will appreciate. I'm very happy to see our barista inside our studio this morning. My major concern is about our insecurity with our boys, not even bandits myself. Even our children, our brother in the house now. When you just have a little thing, they are carrying arms, carrying knives, carrying cutlass to be fighting with him, to kill human being like he didn't take it anything. I want our barista to have a law into that even any picking that they get with, even though it's sick, knock it for one of his friends or one of his neighbor, they should have the law that they will pass into through it. Then number 2 again, those Okada riders and the Keke, they are too overspeeding. Like that Bida road now, from day first day and today, I think I have people that have accident, they are at home like that now. Lack of not discipline, lack of overspeeding. So please, I want our barista, please, especially our children, our brothers now, when we say they have a little fight now. They are carrying cutlass, maybe they have the law where they will keep in this Niger state. Anything they have knife, maybe they get the law they will pass it through. That is my contribution this morning.
Taibat Mustafa is saying inequality and injustice are some of the drivers of conflict. As my female activist rightly put that, peace is not just the absence of war, but the presence of justice. May we have a breakthrough, because this is just too much for us to bite. Thank you very much, Taibat Mustafa. Our time is fast spent. Let's see if we can pick one more call, and then we'll come back here and wrap up the program. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, doctor.
Good morning, sir.
This is Comrade Ndanusa Bala speaking.
Okay, Comrade, go ahead.
Auntie Mero have said it all. I think the key problem the problem we are facing in Nigeria, especially when it comes to the youth, is lack of job. As a living human, everybody must survive. Either you earn or you don't. We call it autonomous consumption. And for such, you must have a way to survive. So what I expected the government of this nation to do to cushion this problem is to provide job opportunities to the youth. Take it for example, somebody who is sitting at home with family, being him a graduate, you understand, and he has no job to do. Such people can easily be convinced, despite his knowledge as far as education is concerned, he can easily be convinced to act on this manner way, which the key problem to that is corruption. As somebody has said there, corruption leads to that. The jobs are there, but the leaders fail to do the necessary, and that is what is leading to all this. If youth will be engaged in doing some certain activities, you understand, this problem will be relatively reduced. And as far as I'm concerned, I am urging the government to do the needful so that all this problem will be rectified as soon as possible. If not, in the nearest future, what will happen will be more than what we are facing now. And we don't pray for such. And we pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect and guide Nigeria and Niger State at large.
Thank you very much.
Lastly, Doctor, I want to ask this question. I don't know this program, if the contribution Niger Light are making is going around to the whole nation, or is just at the table of Niger State alone? If yes, then it means all we are doing has no any value. But if it is going around to the nation in general, I think Niger State is contributing to the development of Nigeria, and I urge the federal government to take every contribution from Niger Light as important, and quick action should be taken upon it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Ndanusa. I assure you that this program has a far-reaching effect, because it is going to even place you never expected it to reach. And stakeholders are also listening with keen interest, and I'm sure policymakers will definitely pick something from your contributions and from all the contributions made by everybody in this program. And let's come back and wrap up the program. Mr. Philip, and that's what is the way out?
The way out, one, let's create an enable environment of trust. Two, let us look at ourselves in the issue of corruption, transparency, accountability. Three, let us create an enable environment from family unit to a larger unit, where we are able to discipline our future generation, even our existing children. And I believe that when we have a concerted effort, we should be able to curtail the thing. I always remember what Frank Olizo always said in those days. He said, have you seen your children at 9 o'clock? When he's giving, remember in those days, he will ask, how many of us today in the family know even where our children are for 24 hours? They don't know. And I think we should start inculcating that family discipline right from there. And it goes to the school, where the school buffet that aspect of discipline and on and on. And by the time we do this, I strongly believe that these excesses of youth, despite we are talking about employment apart, but even discipline is part of it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Philip. And Dr. Mohammed Nuwaru, yes, what is your own call now on the issue of conflict, violence, violent extremism in Nigeria? How do we cope that?
In the first place, we have to change our attitudes. Everybody have to imbibe positive attitudes in this country. Then secondly, both the government and the private sector have to invest directly in the primary occupations of the people. Let's go back to the basis, to the rural areas, and invest directly in their primary occupations. This is what can, help the family to resuscitate back that family values and the safety net of the family.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Salihu Mohammed Nuwaru. Barrister Miroman, he has talked about attitudinal change. What other things do you think need to be put in place?
I think fundamentally for me, under the democratic rule that we have now, is the political will. I think those seeking for power must cease to play with the emotions of people, and must not take people for granted and come and make promises that they cannot fulfill. Some of these promises they are making and not fulfilling is part of the crux of the conflict in this society today. Because when you come to the podium or you go to campaigns and you say things that you are not even going to do, get people angered and behave in a manner that they will not behave. Just like we know, part of the fundamental issues and conflicts that we have in the society today is that talks are being used positively during campaigns and are being dumped after they get into office. So what becomes their life? That's why we have conflicts all over, and we have people who are... So I think the issue of political will is very important. Promises that will be fulfilled are promises that should be made. I don't think politics should be made to be seen as a game. These are things that affect the lives of people. And we have to think of the aftermath of some of these commitments and what is going to be the likely consequences of not, fulfilling or coming forward. So political will is very important. And another thing that I would say simply is that let the government work towards ensuring that basic amenities are made available and accessible to every citizen of this country.
Okay, thank you very much, Barrister Miroman. Listeners, I'm afraid our time is fast spent, and this is where we have to draw the curtain of the program this morning. We hope you have been informed, you have been entertained, and you have been educated. Keep a date with us when we come your way with yet another edition of the program in the series of the program of Voice of Peace radio programs brought to you at the instance of the Abdulsalami Abubakar Institute for Peace and Sustainable Development Studies in Mina. And of course, this morning we've discussed on the issue of addressing the drivers of conflict and violent extremism in Nigeria. And the discussants have been Dr. Salihu Muhammad Niworu, an associate professor of political science, Ibrahim Badamasi University, Lapai, and Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida University, Lapai, and of course, Barrister Mairo Muhammad Man, the Director of Gender and Domestic Violence Department, Minister of Justice, Niger State. And of course, Mr. Philip Ndasu, who is the former Registrar, Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria. And we hope that justice have been done to this program, and we will also keep a date with us. Don't forget, in continuation of the series of this program, we shall be coming your way with a fresh edition of the program on the 7th of July 2020, and of course the topic will be the role of traditional rulers in resolving farmer-herder conflict in Nigeria. That is going to be the focus on that day. So keep a date with us, and of course Wednesday 16th of June, there's going to be a repeat broadcast of this program, in case if you have not listened to today's program. And on behalf of the sponsors of the program, the Abdulsalami Abubakar Institute for Peace and Sustainable Development Studies, the staff, of course, who have been here with us in the studio, and all the discussants, and the management of Prestige FM2, we hope that you have all been entertained, you have been educated, and my name is Mohammed Dantala Aliu, and I'm hoping